I have a newly sodded lawn area. How do I water to make sure it flourishes?
So you have a newly sodded lawn area, and you want to know how to make sure that you water that correctly. So new sod, while you're getting it established, is really critical, and that about half of the root system of the grass has actually been cut away in order to move the grass from the sod farm and to your property. So sod is like produce. It's not going to last outside the refrigerator very long, and typically it can dry out and die within a day or two, particularly when it's first put down. So the important thing again about watering is that you can't overwater in a given watering with this. You need to water sod with your irrigation system or by hand or whatever method that you use, and get enough saturation that you saturate the sod, you saturate the ground underneath it, and you get it wet enough that you can hardly walk on it. It gets it pretty soft and squishy. Then you know you have enough water in the ground. That initial saturation that you put in helps set things up so you don't have to water as much going forward. Now you're just maintaining that water level. So you want to make sure you keep it moist. Keeping it wet is fine, okay? Keeping it moist is critical. Saturate it enough in the first 24 to 48 hours so that you get past that initial hump. It's easier to maintain the moist conditions if you do that. So on week 1 for new sod, you're going to keep it wet enough that you can hardly walk on it. Most likely that means watering every day, or better yet, shorter runs twice a day. By week 2, you should be able to scale back your watering a little bit, either in volume or frequency. If you're doing it twice a day, you should be able to go to once a day. If you're running for 40 minutes, you should be able to maybe dial it back to make 30 minutes. Again, it shouldn't take as much to keep it moist when you get into the second week, unless you have extreme conditions. By week 3, you should be able to cut back your watering to maybe 4 days or 5 days a week. Again, it'll depend a little bit on the weather conditions. You can't overwater in a 3-week period of time. So let it firm up enough now that you might be able to do your first cut. Typically by the end of week 3 or sometime in week 4, you should be able to do your first cut. Okay, so what we have here is we have some new sod that was put down a few weeks ago. So it's been being watered, and we let it dry up a little bit. It's about ready for its first cut. But one of the reasons that we know that it's ready for its first cut and that we can back off on the water a little bit, as we pull this up, I have to pull pretty hard, and you can hear it starting to pull, is that the root system here, pull that a little bit more, is starting to come through the soil, get past the soil here, and start to root out into here. So when it's getting to the point where you're having a hard time pulling it up, that's a really good sign. Root system is starting to take hold nicely, and it's probably then stiff enough that you can back off of the water in such a way that you can walk on it and you can probably cut it. The other thing that's important before you cut it is to make sure that you back off of the water for a few days enough that when you go onto it with a mower, you're not going to rut anything up. So again, you won't hurt anything at 3 weeks or so to let things dry enough that you can get on it, walk on it, and have a mower on it, particularly if it's just for a few days. One of the caveats is that if we have extreme conditions, whether it's a hot summer or whether it's in the spring or you have a really wet period of time, you can adjust those things back and forth a little bit. It's not the volume of water, it's just a matter of keeping it moist during that period of time.